Hey, this is Shaun with the GoTennis podcast, powered by Signature Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And if you're a fan of Bull Shark Sports, go to shop.letsgotennis.com and get yourself a hoodie or a hat. And this episode being right before Thanksgiving, it's a great time to look for our Black Friday sales for those Bull Shark Sports hoodies. Today, this is Youth Sports Talk with Coach Ben Hestley. Today, Coach Ben wants to talk about the journey versus the destination. Ben, you ready to talk youth sports?
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right. Today, Coach Ben wants to follow up on our recent conversation about growth mindset by discussing the idea that focusing on the journey is better than focusing on the destination. So the destination being a specific goal, target, we'll get into all that. So Ben, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think it's a great pickup from last week. We talked a lot about growth mindset and what that means and how difficult that is to practice, to apply in real life, because everything gets fixated around the end result, right? Did we win the game? Did we win the championship? How much is my kid getting to play? What's my kid's batting average? How many matches did they win? What's their UTR rating? Whatever sport it is that you play, there's all those like end result destination type things that often get posted on social media. And it's dangerous because we forget about the journey, right? We hear people talk about the journey, but what is the journey really? And it's really a process. And really, how do you approach this youth sports journey is what I really want to talk about, because I was really struck kind of going back and reading Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. And she mentions specifically about athletes, that athletes take charge of their process. And that really resonated with me. I thought it was really good about kind of how to go on the offense, so to speak, and take charge of your journey.
And taking charge of your journey, it sounds just sometimes almost like the corporate speak. He was like, you need to go out and give 110%. Well, that's a meaningless statement. So in this case, what is take charge of the journey? So I'll back up to say, focusing on the continuous effort. I'm going to read from my Googling again. The continuous effort to right, to improve rather than simply reaching a specific goal. But in that case, it isn't just the continuous effort to improve. It's really owning the journey. It's owning the process and saying, this is what I do every day. I get out of bed for today. I'm not getting out of bed for holding the trophy in a few months. Is that a good way to think about it?
Yeah, I think so. I like what you said about ownership. I mean, I think about, I often ask my players, who's in charge of your development? Right. And the response I'm looking for is them. They say, well, I'm in charge of it. Right. So growth mindset people take ownership of their development, good or bad, right? When it's going good, obviously going to take credit for it. When it's not going as well, they think about, hey, how can I change things? What can I do to improve the situation, or how to better myself? Whereas compared to fixed mindset people who more play the blame game, right? It's the coach's fault. It's the referee or umpire's fault. It's my parents' fault. It's the environment. I don't like the group I'm with. I don't like the team I'm on, or whatever. And that's not to say,
or my favorite, which is, it's just the way I am. It's just how I am, coach. There's nothing I can do about it.
it's a fixed mindset. Yeah, I'm not
there is.
athletic. I'm just not athletic. I can't
Right.
catch balls, right? And I say, that's going to be a sad life, man, if you can't catch a ball. Let's
Yeah.
work on that. Let's work through that.
Yeah.
I learned I forget who said it a few years ago. I came across the word "yet." Coaches were using the word "yet." Real coaches that were really invested in instilling the growth mindset in their players. And let's say you say to me, Shaun, I can't hit a topspin forehand. You can't hit a topspin forehand yet.
I haven't figured it out yet.
You haven't figured it out yet. You can't do it yet. Let's keep working on it. Let's keep finding a way to help you sort of tick towards that thing that you want to accomplish. So, but number one, taking ownership of your development. right? Recognizing, hey, don't blame the coach, don't blame the environment, don't blame the referee. Think about what you can do to make the situation better. Now, that being said, that's not to say if you truly do have a bad coach or you're involved in a bad program that's just not
Right.
working for you, that doesn't mean that you don't seek out a new program, a different team, a different coach. You should certainly do that, and that's all part of taking ownership is going, hey, look, and you don't say the coach is bad. You just say, I think that you start looking at other options that could help you improve.
Yeah, and there always will be obstacles. There always will be issues that you have to deal with, adversity. If you weren't born naturally athletic, I'll go back and say, okay, is that actually genetic? I'm sure there are some markers there, but maybe you just didn't play catch as a 2 year old. Maybe you didn't do the Hestley stuffed animal toss and learning young, right? So I was watching something with my wife the other day, and the television show came up, and it was about a school, and one of the kids was just the best at everything that she could work at. And then the teacher said, "Well, except music. That's the one place where you actually need real talent. You can't work and just become better." And I thought, oh, that was an interesting one aspect of studying and learning something to pick on, to say you actually need some talent there. Like you either can sing or you can't sing. It isn't actually something you can just work really hard and become a great singer if you just can't sing. So, from a tennis point of view, if we're going to take that process from a sports point of view, even just say, okay, I've got these opportunities to learn and improve. That's really what I'm looking at. It's today. I'm focused on my process today. Now, are you going to tell me a 9 year old needs to own the process, or what happens there? Because I can get that LeBron James is going to own his process to be great, or Novak Djokovic is going to own the process. But my kids, your kids, the baseball player that's 11, are you going to try to consider him as needing to be owning his process, or is he
Yeah,
still learning even what that is and how to do it?
we're all learning. But yeah, I had in the conversation, I say when I ask the kids who's in charge of your development, that's who I'm talking to. I'm
Mm.
talking to 8, 9, 11 year olds because
Because really it's you, meaning the coach, right now for the 8 year old.
now I'm responsible for setting up an effective practice plan.
Mm.
I'm responsible as the coach for setting up an effective program that's going to help these kids. Oftentimes, I like to think of myself as a facilitator more so than I like the word coach, but
Yeah.
you think about, okay, my job is to set up the environment for the kid to be able to develop. Now, inside of that, I'm going to need the kid to take some responsibility. And that responsibility could be something as small as bringing your own water bottle and racket on the court. I mean, a clear rule, even at the 5 year old level in my
Uh-huh.
program, is mommy and daddy don't bring do not bring the equipment on the court. You bring your own equipment on the court, and I'll have kids run on the court, and because they're running late, and parents love this, by the way. The kid's running late. Typical situation. Kid's sprinting. He's running late. He comes on the court and has the tennis racket. I'm like, where's your water bottle? Oh, my mom has it. She's going to bring it. No, she's not. Go get it. Go back. Here's mom. Here's mom. She's carrying everything, you know, and she's got her lawn chair out. She's carrying 2 other kids with her, and a bicycle that little brother's going to ride during the lesson. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, why is your mom working so hard? I'll tell us right in front of their face. Like, why is your mom working so hard? Like, you can't carry a water bottle 20 feet onto a tennis court. Like, you got to keep up with it for the hour. She's not going to come on the court every time we have a water break. So it starts then. That's when it starts. And then it gets into the actual drills we're doing. We're doing partner fed activities. You're responsible, little Timmy, for tossing a decent ball to Susie so she can get some practice at hitting forehands. Why should you do that? Well, first of all, you should do that because Susie's going to toss to you in a minute. And if you're tossing bad to her, how do you think she's going to react to you? And secondly, it's just a right thing to do. And that starts as early as they're able to talk, walk, and catch and toss, man. I mean, you can't wait. I remember somebody said, like, in the club business, And and while these kids are not small adults, they're children, and there's differences. And one thing that is the same is if you want something to change, you can't wait for that opportunity to happen. You have to make it happen. You have to prepare for when it's going to happen. So in other words, when I was in the club business, they used to talk about being a general manager, right? People that was the pinnacle. If you were in the club business and you wanted to move up, especially now that we're not just directors of tennis, as directors of racket sports, right? And then directors of racket sports become athletic directors, and athletic directors move up and can become general managers. And so, but if you want to, and someone said to me that instilled this value in me was if you want to be the general manager, you can't wait to be the general. You can't wait till you are the general manager to think like a general manager. You got to think like that now, right? If you want to be the head pro at your club, you can't be like, well, I'm just gonna just maybe fiddle fart around as the assistant pro and whatever, and then one day the head pro job opens and I'll just take it because I've been. No, you got to think like the head pro right now. You got to start acting like the head pro if you want to be the head pro down the road. And it's the same thing for 5, 6, and 7 year olds.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And from a journey point of view, the kids are starting their journey and they're learning from their parents and they're learning from their coaches. And we do the same thing. Like, no, you carry your own bag. Don't come off the court and hand your bag to your mother. No, you carry your own bag. You're responsible for your own stuff. And in that case, that is focusing on that. This is now, and now is what matters. Yes, we're building for the future, but today is what matters. And I think there's a mm, there's a mindset here, obviously, and mindset is thrown around a lot, right?
Yeah,
But there's also an ability to be present, an ability to be there where you are, and be mindful. Even if we want to use kind of a term from yoga, and say I'm mindful about where I am and what I'm doing, and also realizing that it is the building for the future. It isn't just, okay, I got to hit 100 forehands today and that'll make me better for tomorrow. Enjoy it, choose to enjoy it, and choose to embrace it. Can we also teach children at any age that enjoying something is a choice?
absolutely. I mean, I've had a conversation with kids, and that happens more. Um, I mean, some kids that are eager to play sports, if at 5, 7 years old, they don't know what they don't know. So that tossing the ball to another kid is fun for them, right? And it may get to a point where it's boring, and I don't want to dive into like progressions and how to scale drills and all this sort of stuff. That's not the conversation today. But I see that more with sort of preteens and teens. That the kid that's there because you're like, man, this is my hour. This is my kid's hour off the iPad. Coach Ben, please take him and do something athletic with him because otherwise he's playing Brawl Stars and Fortnite, right? And he's like, I don't want to be here. And I've had a conversation with 11, 12, 13 year olds. Say, look, can't change it, right? You and I, we're here for an hour. There's nothing you can do. Now, you did a good job walking down the club. You could have just gone from school straight home, and your mom probably would have never known unless I called her, which I will if you don't show up. But
Right.
but but you can. So let's do something with it. Let's do something. You know, and I've had kids go over to the hitting wall at the beach club. We have a hitting wall. I've had kids that go over the hitting wall and like they're just hitting on the wall. That's all they want to do. They don't want to socialize with anybody. They don't want to be part of the group. That's fine. Just go over there, do your thing. And those are cases that the kind of the art of coaching. You sort of have to deal with that. But I think yeah, you just kind of tell kids like embrace it. I mean, everything is not. We want it to be fun. We want it to be enjoyable, but everything's not going to be fun and enjoyable. You're going to have to work through challenges. There are going to be things of frustration, and those are positive things. Those are great growth. Here we go, growth. Those are great growth opportunities to work through some sort of frustration that you had and overcome that.
So how do I, if I'm going to try to wrap it up and say, how do I ask kind of one last question that says, all right, Coach Ben, I want to be this way myself. I want to view more presently what I'm dealing with, which is I'm going to own my process. I'm going to own my own system of how I'm going to improve, whether it's sport related or not, which is a tougher thing to do, to answer the question and also be able to zoom out from sport to life. But if we start with answering the question of with the kids, how do I get that to install in my children, in the kids around me, to be able to just little things that I can do to remind them? Is it just making them responsible? Because that seems like a slightly different thing. Focusing on the journey, focusing on now, and that this practice matters not because there's a game on Saturday, but because this is where we are right now.
I think that the biggest thing you have to do as parents, coaches for kids is be very mindful and cautious when you're talking to them about behaviors versus traits, and being careful not to label the kids. And so like your case about the lady who said that if you got to have some sort of talent to be a musician, like I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I do think that especially at young ages, and I mean young ages, dude, even into high school, really, treat every kid on your team or everybody in your program like they're going to be the pro. Like we know the statistics. We know how small of a chance it is for these kids to play. I mean, college tennis, baseball, softball. We know, let alone be a professional at the sport. But that doesn't matter. Like it's not us to say that this 6-year-old that walks in with no athleticism is he's never going to be any good. She's never going to be any good. Why would I waste my time with developing these skills with them? Like that's not us to say that. We need as coaches to treat every kid as if they are going to be professionals one day. I can tell you, I have kids that have come through me as a coach and my programs that at 8 years old, when they're over there fumbling around trying to catch a orange ball off a bounce with one hand, and you're like, that kid's never playing ever. And she ends up playing college tennis. You know?
We all
Um,
start somewhere.
so we have to be careful that it's a process, right? Just because you are bad today, just because you lost your temper today, doesn't mean you're a bad person. You just lost your temper today. Let's try to be a little bit more constructive tomorrow. I remember, last thing I'll say about this, and hopefully this will help. I remember years ago working with several players, and I had a coach that was coaching with me. And I was the director of tennis at the club, and he was one of the assistant coaches, and he was actually in charge of the junior program. So we had a girl, and she kind of notoriously did things that weren't nice, but that was besides the point. So one day at practice, we're playing practice matches, and she hooks another girl playing practice. She hooks her, right? And the coach calls her a cheater. He says, I saw that ball was in. And it was always for me as the coach. Like, you need to get involved. If the kid clearly cheats, makes a bad call, we need to address it and talk about it and just say, this is not what we do. This is not our program. We'll make fair line calls. So, but instead of saying, hey, to this girl, that ball was in the court and you should have called it in and given her the point. You could say you cheated. You cheated. How does that feel? You cheated someone. How does that feel? You can say that because that's an act. I cheated someone. That's an act. Okay. But if you called her a cheater and she was like 11, you call her a cheater, now you've put a label on this child. And we all know this child makes bad line calls, okay? But we're working her out of that. But while you calling her a cheater, now you've labeled her, and it completely changed her esteem, her self-esteem for herself, and it also changed the relationship between her and that coach. I can tell you right now, they never got along for the rest of the time that coach was at the club.
Yeah, and that's name calling, and coaches need to be better. We need to be better
Yeah.
than that. We don't do that. And sometimes, like, you kid, you call me a loser. I said, no, you lost. That's different from being a loser. Losing is okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call you something like that. And that's a good example. I appreciate that. So, Ben, did we answer the question?
I think so. I hope so. But to parents and coaches out there, it's a tough concept, just like growth mindset. It's a hard concept. It's easy to talk about. It's easy to have taglines and bumper stickers and T-shirts, but to really live and breathe this stuff, that's where it matters. It's like culture in your company, right? You can have awesome little acronyms and all this for your company and slogans for your company's culture, but it doesn't mean anything if the people down on the ground floor aren't living and breathing and developing and continuing to push that needle forward. And that's what youth sports is all about.
There we go.
Right?
Move the needle. I like that. I use a similar concept with meditation. Meditate for 1 second, if that's as long as you can meditate for. Then move it to 2 seconds. Then do it 3 seconds. See how long you can go. Just move the needle. Just make sure you're improving each time, and that'll work. Ben, I appreciate it. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
This has been
Hope that
Youth
helps.
Sports Talk with Coach Ben Hesley. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next week.
All right. Stay growth mindset, everybody.